Gamer's Garage.
I'm playing with the settings.
AKA nipples.
Like this?
AKA nipples?
Wait, is this getting better or worse? What are we doing here?
Talking about the sound or your nipples?
Wait, what about this? What's this? Is this better?
You know what Rapture sounds like? Rapture sounds like he's trying new things on his sexual partner. Like, hey, does this work for you? Does this work for you? How about this?
Well,
How about now?
I don't know why it's not...
Rapture, she's asleep. Leave her alone.
Can't stop the train, baby. Whoa!
Welcome to the 20th round of VV Gaming's The Losers Bracket, hosted by the Gamers Garage. Got a Columbus recap episode going on for you today. First things first, though, I'd like to introduce to you a regular co-host that we'll from now on be bringing onto the show. Please welcome VVV Spikemouth.
Welcome, Justin. How are you?
Pretty good. Thanks for having me on the show.
For those who don't know you, you'll be replacing Mrs. Violence as our new regular co-host. So tell us all about you. Tell the audience who is about to listen to you, why did you replace the very pretty Mrs. Violence? You have 30 seconds to justify your existence.
All right. Well, basically, I'm a huge gamer. I play every type of video game known to man. I coach a professional Halo 3 team, so I'm all around the competitive esports a lot. You know, I tend to rant a lot, as many of you who met me at Columbus know. And that's pretty much a simple thing about me.
Basically what he's saying there is that he's sexier than Kelly, is what he's trying to say.
No, he's saying he's a friggin' nerd, but that's okay. We like nerds.
Exactly. I'm a pretty big nerd.
All right. Well, welcome. We look forward to talking about all things. But speaking of big nerds, Rapture, what's going on?
Nothing. Just busy week and then going to the Pokemon tournament this Saturday because I'm going to win it. Freedom says I have to bring a pen so I can sign autographs.
Are you kidding me? You're really going to go to a Pokemon tournament?
Yeah, I've been telling everybody. I have a sponsorship application up if anyone hasn't noticed.
Oh, they've noticed all right. But it's hard to take that seriously. I mean, I think in all of my haste, I forgot to give the Pokemon sponsorship request its due diligence. But I promise you I'll get to that.
I mean, it's mostly me because I'm not going to discredit Freedom or Toxicity who are also playing. But I think it's mostly I'm the one who's sort of going to win it. So, if anything, just sort of focus on me because I'm more important.
Gotcha. And you're more humble.
Yep.
Well, let's get started. You know what? I am glad to be home. Let me start there from MLG Columbus. It was, again, one of those events that I've got a lot of stories. I've met a lot of great people. I don't know. I came back all energized. It was one of those where I was just a happy camper coming back from Columbus. It was a good ride there. Doomhammer and I rode out, left Thursday, spent a night over at a hotel, then got into Columbus early Friday afternoon, got checked in, chilled out, watched a little Halo, watched a little Brawl. It was a good weekend overall. But we'll talk about the specifics. Why don't we get started with Tekken 6? That was, to me, in many ways, the most interesting event, just because it seemed like a lot of people didn't show up. So, main event, what I'd like to hear from you is tell us what happened this weekend. Tell me about the competition. The Koreans looked like they were on top. What happened in Tekken 6?
There was a few people there. The only people that really didn't show up was, the people from Ohio. That was stupid. There was people that actually play Tekken in Ohio that are pretty good, and they didn't show up. A couple people from the West Coast didn't, but that's understandable. They made the last one, you know what I mean? We had 70-plus people, I would say.
Yeah, we got the word that a lot of people didn't show, and it ended up being 42.
What? No, dude, there was more than that. Because there was just randoms that were there, Shadouken 1-2-3s or some, Shadow Fox Excaliburs that, people that are just from MLG itself, like that. To me, it was whoever needed to be there was there. I take the quality over the quantity any day, and plus it was a dope event. Anybody that was there was hype. If you watch the finals, when the rebroadcast comes on, it's going to be dope, dude, because there were so many people in the back when I was watching the pictures, because I didn't turn around the whole time. like during when all the big matches were going on. But it was like mad people. It looked like people were watching just us, and then Smash was going on. It was like, wow, it was crazy.
So what's the highlight of this Tekken 6 event in your opinion?
Dude, in my opinion, easily was GM taking out the two Koreans back to back. In the fourth place match, he took out Nin from Korea. The third place match, he took out Ni. He had to beat Ni 5 times to his 3 times, and he beat him 6-1 or some shit, 5-1, something like that. He had one. They had played earlier the day before, and Ni beat him 3-1. So the fucking stupid MLG rules are like he's got to beat him 5 times, the first to 6 basically. So Ni only had to beat him 3 times to GM's 5 times. So he ended up beating him 5-1. It didn't really even matter. That was a highlight because that was hype, dude. And the reason was for those two guys were probably the dicks of any other Koreans that ever been like to America, like straight up dickheads, like taunting during matches and like just being straight up douches. Wouldn't shake the American players' hands after they won. They're like fucking jerk offs. 2 of them. Old man was cool as shit, but Ni and Nen were dicks.
So in short, they got what they deserved.
Basically, I mean they ended up winning the 3-on-3 because me and GM had to go home on Sunday, but whatever. And I'm not really supposed to tell the story, but since it didn't get, you know what? I can't tell the story. I can't because
you started it. You're stuck now.
Well, it's something that will probably damage the future of Tekken and in MLG. So it's really,
trust me. I damaged the fucking future of Tekken and MLG.
Right. The thing, most people know about this incident, but they don't know about what happened after it. Min was so bitter and so salty about losing.
Wait, start from the beginning. Because remember, a lot of the audience may not know any part of this story.
All right. This goes back to Final Round. Final Round is a tournament in Atlanta that they were previously had in March. Nin beat Fighting GM in a team tournament. And then kind of gestured to the crowd like, oh, really? This is it? This is what I've been waiting for? And so we kind of remembered that. So when he came back and he actually lost, he actually got so mad that he was yelling at GM after the match. Not after the match, but it was like a couple hours. It was like an hour later. Like GM was already done with the finals and really, really tired. And he had asked to play money matches against GM, like big money matches for like, a lot of money. And GM was like, no, I'm tired, and so he started Nin. This is Nin doing this. And Nin doesn't know any English, but he's gesturing in fucking body language, like putting his thumbs down saying, oh, USA, USA, putting his thumbs down and like just acting a fool. He takes his wallet and he throws it at GM. Not once, but 3 times, dude. So after that, I got up. I looked at him and I pointed to him. I said, hey, get out of here. And I said, you got to go away because if not, it's going to be a problem. So he walked away. Then from 25 feet away, he's doing the same thing. Just being a jerk off, basically. So I had enough of it. And it couldn't have been GM that actually approached him because GM physically can't do these things because of his, physical ailments and things like that. He's got back problems, things like that, but that's neither here nor there. So I walk up to him and I try to smooth it over, like, hey man, everything's cool, you know what I mean? Like I try to shake his hand and he basically starts yelling in Korean and then he starts taking his shirt off. Like he's got a button shirt and he starts undoing his shirt like he's going to take it off. I don't know, but where I come from, that looks like, something's about to go down. So I'm like, all right. So I'm just about to take it off my hat and I'm like, all right, we can go right now. You're an American motherfucker. You don't do shit like that. You know what I mean? You don't throw your wallet and stuff like that. I got pulled away by the tournament directors and he got pulled away. And it basically was just kind of drama because he was being a douche the whole weekend. And it basically got to a point where it was just, he almost got his ass kicked coming to America. So, I mean, that's the story. I really shouldn't have told the story, but whatever.
No, I think it's a good story. My opinion of the Koreans is very high. They don't believe in international intellectual property rights. They certainly can't run a StarCraft league without somebody, throwing a bet here or throwing a match here. So they're not high on my list of anybody to necessarily appreciate. So if you're a guest in somebody's country, when I'm in Germany, the Czech Republic, places like that, not only do I speak the language, I also, know a little bit about the culture. Come around here and throw your wallet around and act like the fool, well, you get what you deserve. So sorry he lost and hope whoever sponsored him got their money worth out of his antics, I guess.
The thing is that where he's from, and I guess they would, I was reading on the forums and they were trying to justify it. It was like, oh, this is a thing they do with the Korean.
You know what? Don't give me the last fucking thing I want to hear is some backwards American explain how they do things in South Korea. Yeah. Because they have no fucking clue, and all of a sudden, that's how they do shit in South Korea.
Yeah, how do you know?
fucking
You never fucking
don't.
been there. You never even been there. How the fuck do you know? But it'd be other Korean Americans that say they do that shit. And it's like, listen, if I went over there and some kind of tradition in America was to whip my dick out after I won, and I did it, I'd expect to get my ass kicked. To be, you know, like you don't go to somewhere else and act stupid, and especially when there's a language barrier and you can't explain yourself, and that makes it even worse.
And I'm done. I'm not going to buy that, he didn't know what he was doing. Like, oh, just because there's a language barrier, all of a sudden playing stupid. There clearly was less of a friendly environment when it came to certain players on the Tekken side, just when they were
awesome.
playing.
It was like the old days. It was great. It actually got me like, it's not stupid, but it actually got me back to how it used to be, because that's how it was for a while, for like East Coast and West Coast stuff. The players just didn't like each other for whatever reason. It was like they were the West Coast. It was like, it felt like old days to me. I was like, I can't believe this. This is awesome. And the rants of the crowd and the USA chants and stuff. It was awesome, dude. I got outside top 16, like one outside top 16, and I wasn't even that mad about it. I was like, this event is fucking dope. Like, I couldn't believe it, dude. And to have my boy take it to grand finals and take out two of them. If he'd ran that gauntlet, that's ridiculous. That'd be unheard of. There's Americans that have beaten Koreans in tournament matches, but to do that back to back, he would have fucking been like Paul Bunyan, dude. He would have been a fucking folks hero and shit. It would have been ridiculous.
Did you just call somebody Paul Bunyan?
Yeah, it would. Hell yeah, dude. There can't be a podcast without a Paul Bunyan reference.
Well, you can't argue with that. Fucking Paul.
Isn't he the one with the raccoon hat?
Holy, are you in an aquarium? What the fuck is that?
Rapture is in a Pokemon aquarium. He absolutely is.
You're like the kid in the bubble. What the fuck is that?
Hold on, I'm pulling out my Pokeball. Go, Rapture! Whoosh.
Rapture, if you keep having mic problems that you don't fix, we'll have to replace you.
No.
Keep
And
that
people
in
love
mind.
me, so I'd be a good replacement. People always ask me when I'm going back on the
The show must go on. If I couldn't attend, I'd expect somebody to just quietly fucking shoot me like a horse. Actually, I can think of a few people who'd like to do that. And if you're one of them hearing my voice, go fuck yourself, because it ain't going to happen. Let's talk a little bit about what went down on the Brawl side of the house. We're joined by David Hance, also known as Alliied. David, how are you?
I'm alright. How about you?
I'm well. It was nice meeting you this weekend.
You too.
What?
That dude sounds so high, it's ridiculous.
What?
Are you high, dude? You were
I'm
smoking
good,
a
dude.
bong right before it. All right, I'm sorry. I just had to throw that in. My bad, Jerry. Okay, go ahead.
No, you're good. You're good. Listen, Allied. I had heard from Jason about the Brawl community. We had talked about it in great detail. And when I got there, words are kind of hard to describe. There are brawlers that I really, really enjoyed watching. Lee Martin, for one. Adamus, obviously Mewtwo King. Ally, yeah. I mean, I'm not going to... Great player, don't get me wrong. Tyrant. These are some really, really great players. Dojo. I had a really good time. I learned a lot about Brawl. It was fantastic. But before I start from my lack of expertise, Allied, why don't you tell us any surprises? Can anybody ever beat Mewtwo King? Talk to me.
I was playing Mewtwo King in the hotel room, and I was watching him and Tyrant go back and forth, and it seems like everyone's pretty much on the same page right now. And it seems like Allies, like when he's on his game, he's a little bit ahead, but then it seems like we're all left in 2010, and Mewtwo King moved on to 2011. That's how far he's advanced at this point. Will people be able to beat him? I don't know. He still has a problem of Diddy Kong, so he actually lucked out 2 MLGs in a row now. He hasn't faced the Diddy Kong of top status yet, so we were actually kind of hoping Ginez, who plays 6th from Texas, to face him. He wasn't on the side of the bracket. He actually had to face Ally and got knocked out by Ally. That's so far his only known weakness. Everything else he seems to have no trouble with. But for the most part, I would say the biggest upset would be Nick Riddle coming from left field and getting 3rd at MLG and 2-0ing Ally. I mean, even though he got slapped by Mewtwo King, he really just made a surprise coming from, all the way to Florida just to place 3rd with an underrated character. Zero Suit Samus is nowhere by any means considered viable. She's considered semi-viable, but you would need to, have some pickups maybe. But just to go straight Zero Suit Samus in such an intense and tough tournament and get 3rd is just unbelievable. Shout outs to Nick Riddle.
Yeah, I guess there's no way you can take anything away from his performance. It really was odd because it was almost like Ally didn't show up for that match. Normally he's pretty spot on. But you do have to say Riddle didn't make any mistakes. I thought if there was a way to play that character, he certainly showed everybody one way to do it.
Yeah, he gets a lot of common criticism because usually he's considered like the lesser of Zero Suit Samus's. Person in my crew, Snakey, is considered the best Zero Suit Samus, throughout 2008, 2009, and Nick Riddle was pretty much in his shadow. Like, he even has on his thing on Smashboards, like, the 2008 Snakey, because he was just considered, like, the lesser form of Snakey and he was always hidden in the shadow, and now this is his big breakaway to be finally known as one of the best players. It was really nice to see him get third. I mean, I talked to him. He's a nice guy. He's just learned. He's just really he was on top of his game the whole time. And also, it's very common belief that Zero Suit Samus, especially if you catch a Snake off guard, could be a counter or a potential counter to Snake. It's a very hard time for Snake. I know for a fact, Alliied, whenever he's faced with a counter matchup, he has the hardest of time to deal with it, especially with Snake, especially the first time around. So first match, especially if it's someone again like top of their game, he could potentially get two-stocked. But he's known for adapting and bringing it back. It just took him, I guess, a little bit longer. So we had to wait until Losers Finals to see Alliied bring it back and win.
Yeah, that's what I saw too. I agree with that. Let's talk a little bit about another great match that I think sometimes got missed. Did you see the Lee Martin versus Dojo match?
Yeah, that was actually a very intense match.
That was Meta Knight versus Meta Knight. I thought Lee Martin probably had the best match of the entire tournament because I don't think he made a single mistake. He played conservatively. He was focused. And a matter of fact, when he came off, he was shaking. He had told me that he hadn't beat Dojo in a year and a half, and he really had no intention of losing, and he didn't.
Lee Martin has been on top of his game. Originally, Lee Martin was a Lucario main. I want to say, like, over the past year, he's made that gradual switch to Meta Knight, being a full-time Meta Knight main with very little Lucario and just-in-case matchups. Like, for example, he used Lucario to beat Esam. The biggest hype behind that match was that they're the same region. So it's like you have two top players from pretty much the same region. Even though Lee Martin's from Louisiana, he travels down to Texas a lot for a lot of the national tournaments they have there, and they face each other all the time. And it's, Dojo has had the upper hand on Lee Martin for literally the past, since Brawl came out, basically. So for Lee Martin to pull an upset like that, especially to guarantee that fourth spot over Dojo, really, that was huge. It was a huge step for Lee Martin too, also because it just shows that he's becoming one of the next top players. Like his biggest problem now would be just taking out Alliied Mewtwo King. Right now, he still has a little bit to catch up because he's been learning a lot of the Meta Knight Ditto matchup from Mewtwo King himself, and he just pretty much needs to perfect it. I don't think he's anywhere near right now Mewtwo King. Mewtwo King's pretty much on another status. He's not really too far away unless the top players right now do something to really majorly catch it up, or we find out that Mewtwo King has a matchup that he has no idea how to fight, which is improbable. Mewtwo King's going to keep on top of his game unless Alliied can somehow just step it up and beat him again.
What I thought was interesting was, I didn't really get to catch much of the Smash tournament throughout the weekend because I was mainly on the Halo side, but I did go over and check out one of Mewtwo King's matches, and it was actually against Lee Martin, and I didn't really know who he was playing at first. I think the first match was Meta Knight versus Meta Knight, and then Meta Knight versus Snake. But it looked like the entire match, it just looked like, Mewtwo King was just toying with Lee Martin. And I didn't know who it was at first, and then realizing how high of a status he has, and I was like, wow, he's incredible.
He mastered the Meta Knight Ditto matchup. It's the most common matchup between top players. A lot of the top Meta Knights in the world usually face each other, either very early or very late because they're top Meta Knights of each region. They are the top of the top. Mewtwo King has spent a lot of extensive time practicing that matchup to the point where he doesn't get it wrong. He's been known to 3-stock, completely shut out other top Meta Knight players in the Ditto, to the point where it just makes you look like you don't even know this game anymore. It's happened to everybody. I mean, anyone that's tried to do the Meta Knight Ditto, a lot of top Meta Knight players have been forced to actually pick up secondary characters just to deal with Mewtwo King's Meta Knight because they can't go the Ditto against them. The only ones that's tried and gotten successful so far is Dojo, and he is the only one I think ever to take a set off Mewtwo King, but then Mewtwo King, then again, right after 3-0'd him. Anything that you even throw off, unless you keep mixing it up, he's going to catch on and he's going to completely shut you out.
Now, speaking of Mewtwo King, for those of you who do not know, VVV Gaming over the event, over Columbus, did pick up Mewtwo King. He is officially VVV Mewtwo King now. Jerry, do you want to explain to the listeners how you picked him up?
Oh, wow. This is a funny sort of story. To give credit to Mike Hayes, Mike Hayes had come to me and said, hey, I know you'd talked to Mewtwo King. Do you want to meet him? And he brought him up to the hotel room, and we started talking. And it was there that I had realized that Mewtwo King, a lot of people didn't understand him. When I get a lot of comments on Mewtwo King, I hear he's arrogant, he's cocky, he's not very social. I don't think that describes him at all. I've had people tell me that they think he might be autistic or he think might Asperger's syndrome. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not going to make those kind of calls either. But the one thing that he does do is he clearly sees the game at a level that most people don't. When we started getting in a detailed discussion on frame rates and when you need to block against certain characters during which frames when they're executing attacks, I realized he could see the game in a way others could not. And in many ways, I think that's what makes him unbeatable. Because instead of seeing two characters fighting, he's seeing something almost entirely different. It was there in the course of talking to him about VV gaming and getting a feel for who he was a person that I thought he was just a fascinating character. He had wanted to be a part of VV gaming even before Orlando, but there was some magical 3-year contract with Empire Arcadia, and anybody who knows me knows that I think contracts are just a load of crap. Most of them aren't written right. This one's no exception. They need to get a legitimate lawyer. But at the end of the day, this poor kid has been promised so much by different people. Triforce has promised him all kinds of things. I think he did get a plane ticket, he said, out of Triforce at the end, even though Triforce sort of threw it in his face and said, I don't really have to do this because I'm not your sponsor, I'm just your manager. And then, Blight Gaming was supposed to pay him X amount of dollars. Then it was supposed to be $500. And then Triforce told him that he was going to sue Blight Gaming. And I think to myself, this is exactly that kind of crap that why there is really no esports. It was the same thing I saw with sort of Complexity sitting there sort of, I don't want to get into that. The whole old guard humors me. And this is part of that sort of like ridiculousness of trying to make this into something more than it really is. Here's a kid who, for better or worse, is probably one of the most expert brawlers, if not expert gamers, when it comes to focus on one particular subject, probably in the world. And because he's trusting and a really nice kid, and maybe in certain ways naive, you have people who I feel just take advantage of that. So we immediately said, you know what, gave him a hotel room, paid for his team, even though Allied's not in VVV, someone should respect the energy and the challenge that he brings to competition. I think that's what Mewtwo King represents more than anything, is that he is that one gamer, that person on a pedestal to which all others should drive themselves to beat. And, I have no problem with people wanting to sort of beat him and do better than him. That's what good competition is all about. And I think he clearly, probably, for years, has raised the bar that probably has helped Brawl grow in many ways. Would you agree with that, Allied, that he helps it grow?
Oh, yeah, definitely. He's constantly, especially between the 2008 to 2009 period, he was deemed unbeatable. And until finally Allied came from Canada down to Brawl's, I think it was second national tournament ever, Apex. He beat him in grand finals and just proved a whole different level of Snake, and then caught Mewtwo King completely off guard. And that was like the beginning of a whole new thing of just other people pushing their characters. And then I think after that, just people started progressively getting better. But Mewtwo King now, once again, has flipped the tables and he's regained on top, because at one point we were thinking Mewtwo King was third best in the world because we had 2 players consistently beating him. But now it seems like it's just getting worse and worse for those players, and Mewtwo King is keeping it consistent, and now he's back on top.
Yeah, so we're glad to have him. It was a pleasure to meet Lee Martin, Adamus, Havoc, Mike Hayes. I love our Brawl division. I think our Brawl division is great. To be honest, I fell in love with Brawl. I thought that, once again, MLG does a shitty job. You've got 250 people, no seats, and those guys don't seem to be affected. Whereas I would be like, you've got probably one of your most popular events here, and your total amount of energy. You guys are the new Gears of War. They treat you about as shitty as they treat it. Well, actually, we did get 3 benches. Like I usually say about Major League Gaming, as long as they fucking sign the check, they're really not much use for anything else. I don't expect too much from them anymore.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, like Brawlers, we go to venues, tournaments every weekend. Like this weekend, I'm going to New Jersey and I'm going to Massachusetts for 2 tournaments. And usually the tournaments we get, the venues we get are all shitty. We're just used to harsh conditions, and we just make it up with the good time we have with each other. Like a lot of us know each other outside of the game. Like Adamus, I go to his house every weekend. We hang out, and I met him through the game. And you know, how many times can you say you met one of your better or best friends from a video game? That's why, like, Smashes, like, when we just get together, we just pretty much, like, even if there's no bench or whatever, we're just having fun. And also, like, to see a big tournament like that and to see everyone together for one thing is just, it's really a cool experience.
Looming over the horizon comes MLG's big headliner, Halo 3. We're joined here by Justin and Adam from Active Rush. So how you guys doing?
I'm doing all right. Just relaxing after the long weekend.
You guys had a rough event by your own standards. You opened up with a very challenging match against Believe the Hype, where you surprised a lot of people by taking the first map. But then after that, it became a difficult struggle. And to be fair, Believe the Hype is a really, really great team. Talk to us, we'll start with you, Adam, about what happened, how you felt Columbus went, what were some of the challenges, what went well, what went poorly. Give us your story about Active Rush.
Some of the challenges with Columbus that we were facing as a team, I guess from the previous event, we found a way to really zone in on how we wanted small talk in and out of games. And for some reason, after the tough loss with the Believe the Hype series, the next day we just started changing everything. Two teammates wanted the small talking to go like we're in a silent library and nobody get hectic or intense at all in the games. Two of us wanted, intensity, to get really show like we wanted to win the match more than anybody else in that series. We were able to squeeze out of the Young Money match on Saturday night for top 16, played a really intense series. You were able to help us prepare with that with your little speech before that series, but Sunday just wasn't able to get everything back together like we did that Saturday night.
Well, I'm glad I could help, but I think at the end of the day, I felt a little bit, somehow you guys got rattled in some way, and it was difficult to focus again, as if there was a little bit of a lack of confidence in the teammates. But that's how it looked from the outside.
That line that split the team in half was probably one of the biggest things to influence our placing. In order to place well in the event, you all need to be on the same page and doing the things together. And that's something, unfortunately, we weren't really with. We had small arguments here and there about the intensity and the talking part. The next day, we ended up playing Warriors, and they had that intensity where it looked like they were just going to be on fire the entire weekend. And I think after that match, losing to them, because that's kind of a big deal. You lose to the Combine winner and kids that just barely squeaked by getting pro last year. And you never want to lose to those kids. They came out strong, and they ended up beating us pretty badly. I think that's what ended up causing it. We were just frustrated from there on out. And talk with you did help out a lot. Sitting there for an hour and actually talking about all the problems and what we can work on definitely helped out. Because we went to Young Money, and we did everything perfect compared to what we did the last event. Small talking was there, the teamwork was there, and everything just went well.
Adam, what do you think happened after your success with Young Money and then what happened on Sunday? What do you think may have changed? What could have been the issue? Did you guys have a chance to warm up beforehand? If so, how were they? What happened?
We were able to warm up. We got there at 8 a.m. on the dot. Was just playing FFAs, and we were able to all get our shots on and whatnot. But I just honestly think it just changed from how we went from Believe the Hype series to the Warrior series. Since we lost, certain teammates were just wanting to change drastically of what the gameplay style was, our intensity factor. In my opinion, no teams can ever win a Halo series without being intense, showing the other team that they're here to win the series. We were just sitting there, showed no emotion whatsoever. We were able to get back to our original game plan for Young Money. Through that night, we thought we needed a drastic change in order to beat Category 5. We didn't. We just needed to keep on playing like how we did with Believe the Hype and Young Money with that intensity and show our emotion. But for some reason, two teammates really wanted to change it and to show more of like a passive emotion / style.
I think you guys play better when you're intense. I mean, one thing I really liked about the Young Money match, I think it was Talon's, his mom actually, kept shouting out for Young Money. When he four-shotted Mimic, I remember he was making fun of the fact that it happened from a Mimic's girlfriend, Lene. And then when Mimic four-shotted him, a few seconds later, Lene shouts out, that happened in front of your mom. Which, that kind of energy, I think, gets everybody into the match. You need some good quality trash talking and some good quality response. And you guys were all in it. Mimic was very intense. I thought everybody was on it. I think, Adam, at some point, you looked up and you said, "Why am I so good?" I mean, that kind of shit just gets everybody into it. After that, it's always sad to see somebody decide, well, maybe we need to be less intense or we need to cut down on the small talk. And, I think energy is contagious. and maybe someone there, as you guys said earlier, not being on the same page is what hurts.
Exactly.
Well, I think with something like that, it depends on the team, honestly. I mean, you look at teams like Triggers Down, and they stay really calm, and they just talk, small talk, and stuff like that, and it works for them. But there are other teams you could look at, like Carbon or something like that, who stay intense. I mean, Nated, he tries to stay as intense as possible. You know, he trash talks a lot, and he stays with it, and the crowd gets going for him. And I think the intensity part was a big thing for us. I mean, every event we've had people cheering, and we've all been like really hyped up during every match. And I think that's what's helped us out the most. And when we decided to switch that and didn't do that against the Warriors, it was the other way around. The Warriors were the ones intense. The Warriors were the ones with the fans and everything like that chanting. And I think that's what made us go downhill against them.
Well, let's talk a little bit about what happened outside of Active Rush. Let's talk about some of the upsets, and let's talk about the winners.
A big upset in my mind was Illuminati 3-0 in Classic. Winners round 2. It was Classic's first matchup. Classic came out with the excuse that they really weren't trying. They didn't really think Illuminati was going to be that big of a threat. If you lose one game to team seeded, they were in like 14th, 15th area type of deal, that would probably be my big upset for this event.
For me, I was saying it all weekend, it'd have to be Warriors. I was not going to expect them to finish 5th place, and I think the biggest match for them was Triggers Down. They played Triggers Down twice. They played them once in placement, and Warriors came in strong and ended up 3-1ing Triggers Down. I had to play them again in losers for top 6, and ended up taking it close. It went to a 11-game series, and in the 11th game, Goofy comes out with a last-minute overshield and gets an incredible no-scope, and they end up winning the game 50-49 and beating a team like Triggers Down. That was just incredible for me.
Gotta be honest there, that Warriors match, it was absolutely intense to watch on the stream. I was sitting at home, just chilling out, watching the match, and I was sitting on the edge of my seat because it was absolutely intense. It was really funny because at the end of that match, one of the players, I don't know who it was, but they obviously were very upset because the crowd was chanting for Warriors, and one of the other players from Triggers Down, they just kind of said, fuck off, and they walked off. I heard that quite a few of the players, the pro players, had some outbursts. I believe it was Snipe Down at one point during the event at some point, threw a chair and took off his jersey or something like that. Do either of you players know anything about that?
I do. Okay, I happened to be sitting there near the Dr. Pepper station. I was watching Straight Rip play that match. I can't remember exactly who they were playing, but they ended up losing. I think it was a placement, actually, so they were going to go into losers. After the match, one of the fans was saying something. I mean, you always have fans that are going to say stuff about the other team, about yourself, stuff like that. And one of the fans really got on Snipe Down really bad, and he ended up throwing a chair, and it ended up hitting one of the people in the audience. And that was off the feature stations. That was kind of bad. And then, after they lost, from what I was told, which was actually from somebody on Instinct, he ended up walking outside after they lost. I mean, they didn't finish top 8, so, that's a horrible placement for Straight Rippin'. He ended up going outside, supposedly, taking off his jersey, and then started stomping on it, from what I've been told. I don't know if Straight Rippin's going to want to keep an attitude like that. I'm sure Dr. Pepper's not happy with that type of attitude. That's really unprofessional for a player like him.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you at all. To be honest, maybe I should ask you guys this. Does it seem there's a deeper problem at MLG and in the Halo? I hate to say this, but I think the combines are hurting a lot these pro circuit events when it comes to attendance.
Oh, definitely. These combine events are taking place a month after these actual main MLG events. Kids are going to those, spending all their money on going to that event. When it comes down to the real MLG events with the Smash players and Tekken, all the Halo kids are basically out of money because they spent all their money to go to these combine cities. They're going to combine cities like, Chicago, Nashville, Denver, and Washington. It's spread out pretty decently across the country. Most kids don't even work jobs, and they try to rely on sponsors. They're putting any ounce of money they do have into just trying to go to one combine event to try to make a name for themselves. Some have, but a lot haven't.
Hey, I had a question, though, because Tekken doesn't have combines. What does it mean to do well at those things?
Basically, the combine came into this year to try to get players to go out to this event because of what the first place team got, which is a whole expense paid for the next event, $500 each player, and everything paid for. In previous years, and like how I came up, was I just worked through my ranks, placed top 32, networked with different people, kept on placing better, top 24, and then eventually you just got more and more better people with networking, and just start placing top 16, top 12, especially in Halo 2 with FFA being there to show off like you had a lot of individual skill like Pistola did and Hysteria Cloud. You did extremely well in the Pro FFA. Now they have these combines just to play against other amateur players and win a nice little prize package. It showed off for Good Noob and Dubé and all of them, but Dubé and all of them are now sort of going to be on the decline as Good Noob's obviously on the rise.
Yeah, I think overall these combines are kind of a waste. I mean, the only one it's actually paid off for is a really good noob. Other than that, his old teammates from Adrenaline Rush have declined, and Victoria's Secret didn't perform as well as everyone had thought coming out of the Combine. And along with that is the attendance. I mean, before, back in 09 and 08, you used to have close to 10,000 people or more showing up to these events just to even watch. I think that played a huge factor on MLG picking up sponsors as well, because it used to show how many people were there. And now you're just barely making 150 plus teams when you used to have 250 plus teams for Halo 3. That's a huge difference, and that's a lot of money that they're not making anymore. And I think, that kind of hurts for some of these pro teams because the intensity is built off the fans cheering. And when you don't have the fans there, it makes it hard to even play well. I think that's why a lot of these, teams now are starting to struggle because they don't have that momentum anymore. I think that's kind of a huge disappointment now.
Major League Gaming has made a decision, for better or worse, to do these combines, and I think I'm starting to understand why there may have been a change in leadership. Unfortunately, I just don't think Sundance is the right guy to run the show either. This was a very eye-opening event for me because this is the lowest attendance I've seen at a Major League Gaming event. It also seemed to me that the staff had lost sight of why they were there. I'll give you guys some examples. Instead of not calling the forfeit matches in Tekken, the announcer would make these sarcastic comments like, the next Tekken 6 match is so-and-so versus so-and-so. But you're not here, so looks like that's a forfeit. Stuff like that. In the brawl section, you would think that they were talking to 5-year-olds. If you sit down in one of the seats, you're going to find yourself sitting outside the event. You serve your fan base. Too much of Major League Gaming staff, in my opinion, seems to think that they're talking to children and they can treat them however they want. And at the end of the day, I just think that when I looked around the event, ESPN gone. Clearly, MLG didn't provide ESPN probably with any real value. Now they have PNC Bank there with this virtual wallet thing, which I thought, how did you scam PNC Bank into thinking that, 14 and 15-year-olds they're going to be opening up accounts here? I thought that was kind of sad. As usual, Dr. Pepper and Doritos are committed, so they have their free Doritos and Dr. Pepper there. Outside of that, you had Astro, who's there to fix all their broken shit, the cheap shit that they do. I'm glad to see them giving more stuff away to players, though, which I think is important. At the quality of what they've made, I think they definitely could do better. Overall, I think that a lot of great players have put so much time and energy into Halo 3, into Major League Gaming. I've got to believe at some level. Do you think some of the Halo Pro players are starting to get a little skeptical and a little frustrated with the leadership at Major League Gaming?
Yeah. Players like in the lower top 10-ish area get treated like dirt all the time. We were just asking people on Friday what time we were going to play our Believe the Hype series, and we get told that we should have went to the pro meeting, then maybe they would have told us there. Well, we found out they didn't tell anybody anything there either. And we go around, a goose chase around the venue trying to figure out what time we're playing. And we get told that we should be more prepared. It's like they're telling us pro players who's coming out to their events, marketing their sponsors, hey, you're being rude. You should know more. You should know better.
Yeah, I was really surprised. And when I met you guys for the first time in the hotel, I felt bad for you guys because, you kind of are a walking billboard for MLG. You're wearing Dr. Pepper, you're wearing Doritos, you're wearing this. And it seemed like right off from the beginning of this event, you weren't treated with a lot of respect. Is that an accurate assessment?
Yeah, it's very accurate.
I definitely think so. I mean, Adam and I had a great experience to go in and ask when we were supposed to play, and for me to get called rude, and everyone was looking around, was like, wait a minute, you being rude? I was sitting there questioning. I was like, I'm not trying to be rude. I mean, we are a professional team. You are supposed to know when we play because we're supposed to be playing on main stage, and they were the ones that are running it. For him to just say that and they're just trying to treat us like kids, that's a problem. And then on top of that, I was sitting in the pro meeting. And I brought up, I was like, these lower 10 teams from 10 to 16 are all treated like trash. And they think we're pretty much garbage. Because every time they do a bracket show or they talk about these teams, they never mention anything about these 10 through 16 teams. when I brought that up, they just talked about, oh, they need to keep the show going and they need to talk about the higher up teams that are actually going to, place well. But here's the thing. Look at all these teams that just got dominated. Triggers Down, Straight Rippin', Classic, Darkest Hour. All these teams that just got dominated, and all these other lower teams dominated them, went up and ended up placing top 8. And Warriors is the best example of all. And I think this time, they'll actually sit down and look at that and be like, maybe we can't be too quick to judge, and we actually need to think about this one first.
Well, normally, this is the point in the show that I would rant. I would do something to get everybody sort of hyped up. But I'm not going to do this show. But I do want you all to kind of gather up around me. I want to tell you guys a little story. This is my first and probably my last MLG event that I'm going to attend this year. The only reason I attend MLG events is because of the players. It is the players and the teams that they make that I think keep everybody interested in competitive gaming. What I've seen, though, at this event is I've seen an organization, Major League Gaming, that really suffers from poor leadership. And unfortunately, there isn't anyone else around to challenge them or anyone else around to point this out. I feel too many people that follow competitive gaming are either sucking up looking for a job for Major League Gaming or just playing nice because they're the only show in town. Fortunately for me, though, Major League Gaming doesn't pay my bills. I don't owe them anything. And I have spent tens of thousands of dollars bringing players to their events. I don't get really angry. I don't get angry when other podcast shows suck up to Sundance. I don't get angry when people that play PC games talk about Major League Gaming, of which they know nothing about. I watched the small PC area they had at Major League Gaming very closely, and it humored me to see how little value they added to the event at all. What I found even more disappointing was that I saw StarCraft 2 there being played, and I thought you could add a lot of value to Blizzard's new product if you let people know StarCraft was being played. But they didn't say a word. Nor do they say a word about their up-and-coming stars, because Major League Gaming essentially has it backwards. If you watch any sports, many times announcers and sports writers will root for the underdog. They'll make a detailed case how a team who normally we think is not going to win actually has strengths that if they capitalize, they win. But unfortunately, Major League Gaming hasn't spent that kind of money or trained its staff to be able to actually analyze those things. So instead, you get a bunch of people who, because they work for Major League Gaming, fundamentally believe that they're better than the other gamers. Well, I don't see it that way. I think Major League Gaming needs to invest a lot more, not on its technological infrastructure, but on its people infrastructure. I think one of the sad things is that Major League Gaming doesn't do enough for its players. It would be in the pro players' best interest if they got away from Ray and they actually got some professional representation. Because at the end of the day, it seems to me that this is not about gaming anymore. This is about recouping the $42.5 million that was invested in the organization. And I think that they probably made a lot of promises. I'm sure Sundance and Sepso had a lot of dreams. But to be honest, I don't believe America, North America, believes in esports. I don't think they believe in professional gaming. I think a lot of people will believe in competitive gaming, and I think there are a lot of great competitive gamers. But at the end of the day, when Major League Gaming becomes more of a hindrance than a help, then I think it's time to say to all gamers who care about competitive gaming, make sure you support your players, make sure you reach out there and let them know, and let Major League Gaming know. Let them know how you want to be treated. I want to be able to sit down and watch an event. I want to be able to see kids bring their parents who could sit behind them and cheer them on. Not have to sit in the middle of the event in what looked like an old age home that was the Doritos rest area. That to me was sad as well as disgusting. I think Sundance, you should focus less on your red colorful shoes and more on walking around and greeting the very fans who paid to get into your event. I think you should get off your high horse, come down and talk to people and address the concerns not only of the spectators who come to your event, but the very pro players who are starting to get very tired of the way MLG handles problems. I have it from a good inside source that you said, Sundance, at the pro player meeting, that you didn't think it was about you versus them. And I think it was T-Squared who stood up, possibly it could have been Walshy, who stood up and says, until you fix these problems, it will be us against you. Well, after this event, if the whole system collapsed and you went away, I, for one, although I would be sad, would not be entirely disappointed. Nor would I believe you didn't have it coming. Because you, as the leader of this gaming organization now, as the new chief executive officer, you inherit the responsibility to fix it. And I've listened to you on interviews, and I've looked at your track record of sponsors lost. Red Bull, ESPN, the list goes on. Fundamentally, you never really got the human capital part of this equation. And along the way, what you did do is give a lot of aspiring young gamers hope, and I imagine many more great disappointment. So from my perspective, I think a lot of gamers need to take a really hard look at Major League Gaming. Many gamers I know are like the starving man. When you give them a cracker, they devour it quickly, and they're enthusiastic. But after a while, when they look outside and they see other things, they start to question the value of gaming in their life. I think now's that time. So my message to you, Sundance, is if you're really going to lead this organization somewhere, you need to start being honest with yourself. You need to stop worrying about competition. Your predecessor's great statement in the New York Times that it all starts with one league, all of that may soon go away, whether you successfully partner with Blizzard or not. It's not going to be a one-trick pony that saves you. I know one thing. I know that the 25,000 people that come on the VV site every month, the hundreds of community members that are active every hour, we got the human capital equation right. And you say you're going to build a community website that doesn't suck? Funny, I question whether you built a league that doesn't suck.
All right, well, we're at the end of the show, everybody, and we're going to start it off. Obviously, Devastation's coming up. We still have that $5 discount. Don't laugh at me. For VIP registration, the cost is normally $35 to $45. With this discount code, however, you can save money. The discount code is VVVGaming.
Help me.
And,
I'm underwater.
Yeah. and if you use this code, VVVGaming is going to get a list.
You know what, Rapture? Hold on. I think it would be better if you actually just started out with, if anybody out there can hear me, bye. Try that.
Wait, how am I supposed to tell everybody my outro if I say bye first?
You're so special.
All right, so that was all cool and everything. Just to let you guys know, it's $5 off Devastation player or VIP registration. I mean, normally $35 to $45 with this discount code, VVV Gaming 2010. And if you use this code, VVV Gaming is going to get a list from Rob, and we will hold a raffle for VVV swag bag. So that's cool. Thanks to TGG for hosting the show. Thanks to VVV sponsors, SteelSeries, Control Freak, MusicSkins.com, and Custom Ink. Thanks to the VVV community for their feedback and support. And be sure to stop by over at thegamersgarage.com, where you can find out all the ways how to follow us using Facebook, MySpace, and Twitter, as well as listen to the other great podcasts. You can leave us feedback by calling our email at 206-350-7352.
Calling our email?
Or email. Also, you can leave us feedback by calling our email. Oh, shit. I did it again. Also, you can leave us feedback by calling our voicemail at 206-350-7352 or email at mailbag@thegamersgarage.com. Guys, got anything to say?
Rapture just said something, but it sounded like...
Don't understand me. Don't make fun of me.
He's like the teacher from Charlie Brown.
I'm going to drop you.
Next week, we are going to be talking to two girls from the website www.gamecrush.com. They've come to respond to Mrs. Violent's comments on a previous show. We're going to talk to one of the girls who plays Flirty and one of the girls who plays Dirty to talk about exactly what goes on a play date, why they're a part of Game Crush, and what type of gamer they consider themselves. We're also going to be covering On Live, as it'll be ready. We should be looking at the launch of the new On Live service, which many of us in VV Gaming are very excited about. And also, I'll probably be talking a great deal about whether or not the idea of esports and professional gaming will ever really stick in North America, or if it's just a pipe dream of the old guard.
I'd just like to give a shout out to all the VVV members I met at Columbus. I really enjoyed meeting all of you.
Shoutouts to West Coast Brawl Division and VVV, Mike Hayes, Havoc, Lee Martin, and Adamus for being best buddies. Atlantic North, 100% Juice, my crew.
I'd like to thank you all for having me on the show today. I'm looking forward to the upcoming weeks of being on here. And I'd like to give shout-outs to everyone on my team, as well as everyone from the VVV community and all the listeners, and along with that, my family. Thank you very much.
All right, I just want to give a shout out to everybody that's listening, all the VVV members that I met, and Columbus, all the NYC Tekken, all of Tekken community. I'm gonna bust your asses. Get ready for Raleigh. Let's do this. And Jerry, I love you. How about that?
Yeah, he says he loves me, but he wanted to headbutt me. But luckily, they were able to bring in the peace pipe, and then everything was better.
I almost headbutted a Korean, though. That would have been awesome.
I would have just taken his wallet then and ran, because what the heck? If he's not going to use it, someone might have good use for it.
I know, right? If he's throwing your wallet at you, he's probably just asking for your prize money that you were winning, you know? So
what I should have done is that I should have took the Korean's wallet, ran out to the store, bought a nice pair of Prada shoes, came back and told Sundance, lose the red fucking goofy shoes and put some actual shoes on. You're a chief executive officer now, clown boy.
Hey, first of all, you don't want to take his wallet because all it has in there is Korean money, and it's like 10 cents for like fucking a $10 bill for what they have, 1,000. I actually have some of that, but whatever. Shout out to the Korean, almost got kicked in the face. All right, you're on blast. I just want to say thanks, everybody listening. Tune in next week. It's going to be a good show.
Bonus audio.
Was that a fucking bear? True story, we almost hit a bear on the way to Ohio. What the fuck? A bear, dude.
What's wrong with you people from New York?
Who says dope?
Who uses dope anymore? That's also like a 1988 word. What's wrong with
That's a retro word.
20 years. Right?
Oh my god.
Dope,
First of all, when something's beyond slang that you can use right now, it's just dope. That's what it is. You gotta go, sometimes you gotta go retro with it.
If somebody says dope to me, I punch him in the face.
Listen.
Oh, yeah.
hey, Dakota, your mic's pretty dope. I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
You know what I'd hate to see? I'd hate to see Dakota nerd rage if he lost in Pokemon.
Oh,
Dude, I would literally flip shit. I would take a shit and flip it.
What's wrong with you?
Wow.
Can we...
Just a wow.
Take a shit and flip it?
Boy,
Hey,
do
Rapture.
what? No, do
You
what?
mad?
Yeah, I am mad. I don't like any of you guys. You guys making fun of my Aquaman shit. No one's giving me help. You guys tell me to get help from my mic, and then I'm like, okay. And you guys start talking about fucking Paul Bunyan and shit. The fuck is that? Who the fuck's Paul Bunyan? Who is that? Doesn't he make like fucking pancakes or something? Like shit. And then you guys start talking. He makes fucking pancakes. Or Betty Crocker, whatever the fuck that is. So whatever. Anyway, so then you guys keep fucking talking. I'm still trying to fix my goddamn mic here. And nobody knows and there's no mute on this, so I don't even know if I'm muting it. I don't think I am. Alright, so I go to the control panel, right? I'm going to the control panel, I'm like, alright, what the fuck's sound? So I can't find sound, and sound is like audio. What the fuck's audio? Audio has an I in it, right? And I didn't know that. And then, so I'm fucking like, alright, so I'm going to recording, and I see two microphones. I didn't fucking know there were two microphones on my computer. So I go to the one that I'm using, right? And I click on it, and then it just says, hey, you're using a fucking microphone. Oh, thanks, I didn't fucking know that, jackass. So I gotta go back, hit all X on anything, and I just realized you guys are still making fun of me. So you guys go fuck yourselves.
You know,
I'm just gonna
this is my opinion on this, Dakota. If you talked like this at all times, you'd be the main attraction on this show because that was fucking incredible.
And you know what too? I'm gonna go to that tournament on Saturday. I'm gonna fuck everybody up there, and then I'm gonna look at the camera because they do interviews and shit like IGN and all that. They're fucking there, right? And I'm gonna say, hey, everybody, eat shit, because I'm going to fucking win that. You guys are gonna suck my dick. I'm winning. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm not even fucking joking. You think I'm joking, but I'm not. Like, I'm gonna find a little 13-year-old that I really think I'm gonna get disqualified. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna like punch through the table when I beat him. Look at him, like, eat shit, because I'm fucking winning, right? And you don't even fucking know. I've been preparing since January, right? My fucking Mewtwo is the shit. It's fucking green. Do you not understand that?